My name is Hannah, and this is my Year of Less Stuff. Hey y'all, welcome to kind of an unusual video for me. Joe and I are in the middle of packing up our apartment. We're packing to move, and we're about to pack up all of our artwork and actually put it into storage. Along with some of our other stuff, we're not taking our artwork with us to our impending destination. Side note, our impending destination is as yet undisclosed. I haven't talked about it yet on YouTube, but you'll know by the end of the month, so keep an eye out for that information coming soon. In the meantime, I realized that I needed to go ahead and film my long-awaited artwork tour. So before we pack it all up, I'm going to take you around the apartment and show you each piece of art that we have adorning our walls, and I'll tell you the background story behind each piece of art. I hope it's entertaining. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. Looking at our entryway here, I feel like I might have bitten off more than I can chew because it's just a mess. This is a print of Patsy from Absolutely Fabulous, and as you can see it says, "What would Patsy do, sweetie?" And I bought this from an Etsy seller. I bought the print and then I put it in this frame. And if I can find the Etsy seller from which I purchased this piece of art, I will link it down below. This is a piece of thrift store art that I believe Joe purchased at a Goodwill in Portland, Oregon. And it was framed already, and it was framed with this beautiful mat that has a red edge. That's not part of the print, it's part of the matting. One of the nice things about buying art at a thrift shop is that it's often already framed, and framing can sometimes be way more expensive than prints themselves. We love this one because it actually looks uncannily like our cat Sadie, and she is a mouser. I believe I can safely say that this is one of my favorite pieces of art, although I don't know, that statement might be challenged as we move through. I feel like I'm going to want to say that about a lot of things. It's called Dog Boy, and it is a print that was created by a friend of mine who's an artist. We exchanged artwork when we were working together in the same print studio. I gave her a print of mine and she gave this to me. Her name is Anna Wagner, and I will absolutely link her down below in case you're curious to know what she's up to these days. Each dog is the face of a dog that she has known in her life. So these aren't just abstract dogs. Each one is a portrait of a dog that she knows, a real dog. This is another thrift store purchase. Joe and I found this one day when we were thrifting together back when we lived in Portland. During the time that we lived in Portland, we were also avid tango dancers and tango teachers, and this was particularly apropos for us. The caption is, "I wish I was to home and this party was to hell." And that's Joe right there. And then I guess that little blonde girl dancing in the background is me. This right here is a painting of mine. I spent my junior year of college at an art school in Florence, Italy, and I studied painting there. And this is one of the paintings that I made there, and then I brought it home with me. I always conceived of this as being a woman with angel wings that are very abstract and transparent. So these two panels that are sort of flowing up on either side, I see them as wings. I once hung this in the background of a video, and lots of people said that it creeped them out when they were trying to watch me talk about makeup. This is a wonderful piece. It's a movie poster for an art film by my childhood friend, Marisa Williamson. She is an incredibly talented, brilliant artist, and I will also link her information down below in case you're curious about what she is up to now. She has done a protracted work of performance art in which she dresses up as Sally Hemings, and she's sewed the outfit herself. This is her. That's Marisa right there in the picture. That's part of the poster. She sewed the outfit herself, and she does performances in person and also video art about the character of Sally Hemings that she has created. These boxes are making problems for me. No, I'm good. This red and green wall hanging is from Egypt. So I've mentioned this a couple of times on my channel, but when I was between the ages of 8 and 11 years old in the mid-90s, My parents decided to do volunteer peace and reconciliation work in the Middle East. So we lived in Jerusalem for 3 years. And during that time, we went to Egypt. I believe that my parents purchased this wall hanging in Cairo. There's a street in Cairo called Tent Street, and on that street, wall hangings of this style are sold. This is another piece that was made by a friend of mine when we were in art school together, and it was so long ago that I don't actually even remember her name. I think it was given to me in a big print exchange. So it was like 20 artists all trading prints. And I'm not quite sure whose this was. And I don't know if there's a signature on it. If there is, and I can find her, I'll try to link it down below. It's a block print. I think it's incredibly beautiful and powerful. I love having this up on the wall. I found this frame at a thrift shop. I think I got it at the Goodwill in Portland as well. And I just looked until I found one that had the right dimensions. The mat and the frame were all used to frame something else, but I took whatever artwork I had purchased from the Goodwill out and I just used the frame. Again, in a lot of cases, the entire framed piece of work at the Goodwill or the Salvation Army or whatever thrift shop is near you that carries art, a lot of times the entire piece will cost less to purchase from Goodwill than it would cost to buy a frame new or to have a piece framed. So we've done this a lot, found nice mats and nice frames secondhand and used them to frame our artwork. This is one of a trio. We have 3 little paintings like this of 3 different vegetables, and they're scattered around the house. So the other 2 will show up later in the art tour. Joe purchased these again at the Goodwill in Portland, Oregon. They are oil paintings. They're absolutely adorable. I think that it might say something on the back about who did it. Nope, there's nothing on the back except that it says that we got it at the Goodwill for $4.99. Totally worth it. I purchased this print from an Etsy seller, and I think I bought it when we were about to leave Portland. It's like an abstract map of Portland that's in circles. And there are some other cities similarly done. I'll definitely find this Etsy seller and link them down below. And this is just an IKEA box frame, these cheap IKEA frames, which I kind of regret ever getting because they fall apart really easily. But it was a nice fit for this print when I was looking to frame it. This is also a print that I purchased from an Etsy seller. I don't really want to mess with it right now. You can see the frame is completely coming apart. Oh, I might be able to. Yeah, I don't want to mess with it, but I think you can tell that it says a word after a word after a word is power. And it's a quote from Margaret Atwood. And this is a line illustration of Margaret Atwood. Incredible. I really, really love this piece. My friend Michelle actually just told me that there is a documentary about Margaret Atwood currently available to watch that's called A Word After a Word After a Word is Power. I haven't managed to watch it yet, but it's definitely on my list. This is a print that my friend Lane gave to me. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you can probably tell why she thought of me when she saw it. It says, "The world needs your work now more than ever." Love, love, love this. I haven't managed to frame it yet, but I have had it kind of propped up against the wall in a visible location ever since she gave it to me. It looks like the artist is named Robin Plemons. This piece is by an artist who is a friend of ours in LA. Her name is Erin Jackness, and she does mandalas. Look how beautiful this is. I love the combination of graphic and organic that's in this. It's just so incredibly beautifully balanced, so beautifully done. Erin gave this to Joe and me when we moved into this apartment. It was a housewarming gift when she came to our party here. And I will definitely link Erin Jackness down below. She has a beautiful Instagram account where she showcases her work. This is a piece of which I am particularly fond, and I think Joe hates it. He says it creeps him out. It always ends up hanging in the bathroom somehow, but I think it's exquisite. I purchased it from Etsy, but I didn't buy it from the artist. I bought it from someone who sells like antiques, sort of like a yard sale style Etsy account. And I purchased it. It's a painting on canvas. And I put it in this wooden frame, which I believe I might have gotten at a craft store. I just absolutely love it. It's just like a random painting that's floating around, made by an unknown artist, being resold by someone who had, found it somewhere or bought it somewhere. And I think there's something really special about it. All right, this I can definitely say without a shadow of a doubt is one of my favorite pieces of art that we have in our house. It is called All Spock Soccer Team, and it is by an artist whose name is slipping my mind right now. Joe, what's the name of the artist? Oh, Tomervik, that's right. Not Tomervik. I think it's Tomervik. The artist's name is Tomervik, and this actually isn't an original piece. It's a print. It's just been printed on canvas, and then the frame came with it. I purchased it all as one piece. I actually purchased this piece, I believe, from art.com or Art USA or something like that. It's a website that does this, that takes the work of professional artists and makes prints on canvas that really look like real paintings. I bought this for Joe as a birthday present one year, and it always has pride of place in whichever house we live in. It's just so special. I'll link Tomervik, and I'm going to stop saying that I'm going to link everything down below from now on. Just know that if I mention an artist or if I mention a place from which I got a piece of art and it's possible to buy the same thing or to look up the artist, I'll link it down below. This is actually, I think it was a postcard or a greeting card that my friend Liz gave to Joe and me when we lived in Portland. And I think that she gave it to us because she just thought that it looked hilariously like the cat versions of us. Like that's Cat Joe and Cat Hannah, at least in terms of our coloring, and maybe also in terms of the expression on the face of Cat Joe right there. This is another piece that I myself painted when I was in art school in Florence during my junior year of college. It is a portrait of my boyfriend at the time, although I'm not sure that Joe knows that. This is another piece of mine. So I was studying painting in Florence, and I also studied ceramics. Ceramics was actually my concentration for my art major in college. This is a piece of ceramic art that is inspired by a Dylan Thomas poem. One of the lines of the poem is etched into the glaze. It says, "Rage, rage against the dying of the light." The poem goes, "Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light." This is a spot in the house where I used to have 4 masks hanging, one on top of another, and one of them, the one that was right there, kept falling down, and so I put it somewhere else in the house and I never replaced it. You'll see that one in a little bit. This one on top is one that we got for Joe to wear on Halloween. We just picked it up at a little Halloween shop in LA, in downtown, and I think it was like $10 or something, but he looked really awesome when he wore it. I'll put in a picture right now. It was the year that I was Amy Winehouse, and he just wore a sequined jacket with these goggles. This is a really special piece. I purchased this from a mask maker in Florence when I was living there. It is made out of leather, and the color used to be brighter. It's faded over the years because I've had this on the wall pretty much in every place that I've lived since I guess I was probably about 20 years old when I bought it. So I've had it for 15 years. And then this mask is a piece of ceramic art that was made by my friend Wendy. She has a beautiful Instagram account, and I will link that down below. She sent this to me in the mail just last year as a gift. Sorry, I'm in the bathroom now, so it might be a little bit echoey, but I think there are only 2 pieces of art in here. One of Joe's projects back when we lived in Portland was to make a series of short silent films about tango. And in one of the films, a character is reading this magazine, Modern Cad. It's a joke, obviously, but we took I think it's not the whole magazine that's framed. I think it's just, maybe it is. Either the whole magazine or just the cover of the magazine is framed here. And Joe created this little magazine cover for that Tango Silent film, and I will actually put the link to the little film down below so you can watch it if you haven't seen it already. It's brilliant. But this woman on the cover is our friend Jade. She was one of the actresses in the film. And this one's kind of hard to capture. I know we're getting some bad glare from the light there, but this is one of the pieces of art that we have that I think is kind of creepy. It is an old block print. It also came from the Goodwill. It was already framed, and you know, just like looking very professional when Joe decided he wanted to purchase it. I'm always like, let's hide that in the bathroom. It's super creepy. But Joe really likes it, so we still have it. To be clear, it's not that baby carriages are innately creepy. It's just this like empty carriage, and it's black and orange, and I'm just like, why? But I guess it is beautiful. It is objectively beautiful. Okay, this is another one that I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt is one of my all-time favorite pieces of art. It is a portrait of Bob the Drag Queen from the Neon Runway on RuPaul's Drag Race, and it's by an artist named Chad Sell. I have a couple of pieces of Chad Sell's work, and sadly, he's stopped selling on Etsy. You can't buy his work anymore. He's moved on to another project, but back in the day, he was making this extraordinary art, mostly drag queens, mostly from RuPaul's Drag Race, and this is my favorite piece that he has ever done. I feel so lucky that I bought this when it was available. This is super fun. I think it was a piece of art that was in like a New Yorker magazine, I believe is what it was. And I think it's the fashion designer Helmut Lang was asked to answer all of these questions. So the prompts were, please draw what you look like. What did you want to be when you grew up? And he said, tall. What scares you? And he said, being photographed. What did you eat for breakfast today? 2 eggs. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be? Everything and nothing. What do you see yourself doing as an old man? Being nosy. What makes you smile? And he said, guess, and drew this picture. What is your main source of exercise? Walking. What do you fantasize about? Inner peace. And I was inspired to tear this out because I was like, me too, girl, me too. I feel exactly the same way about almost everything. I feel like my answers would match up. I ate two eggs for breakfast today. My source of exercise is walking. I fantasize about inner peace. And this is also what makes me smile. So this is another piece that's going to be kind of hard to capture because of the glare on the pane. Those shapes that you see in there are just the reflection of the photography equipment that's in the background and my hanging plant in the background. It's the poster from the first annual Geraldine R. Dodge Poetry Festival. And this piece of art used to belong to my mom's good friend Karen. I used to stare at it when I went over to her house to babysit her children, and I babysat her children a lot when I was younger. And when I went back to visit Karen years later, when I was grown up and her children were grown up, I saw this picture on her wall and I was like, oh, I used to really love looking at that. It meant so much to me to see this poster from a poetry festival when I was young and I was babysitting your kids. And she just took it off the wall and gave it to me. She was like, you know, it's yours. It's run its course with me. It's yours. I actually attended the Geraldine R. Dodge Poetry Festival several years in a row. This one was in 1986, so I was only 1 year old when the festival started. But it's wonderful to have this poster kind of as a way of remembering not just my time spent babysitting Karen's kids, but also the times that I went to the poetry festival myself. So this is what is over our bed, or what has been over our bed in this house. I'm not going to show you the bed because Joe's lying on it and he doesn't want to be in the video. But I will get up here and show you the art that's up here. It's a mix of art and record covers. We used some covers, particularly beautiful record album covers as art here, but I'm just going to talk about the art pieces one by one. This is a painting that Joe purchased at the Goodwill, once again in Portland, Oregon. It's a beautiful oil painting in an exquisite wooden frame. Such a great piece. This is a paper mache mask that I purchased when I attended a masquerade ball in disguise as the cat Bastet, the cat goddess Bastet. And this is by an Etsy artist as well, which I will totally link down below. This right here is a piece of ceramic art, which is by an artist who I know because she was my ceramics professor when I was in art school in Italy. She is an incredible artist, and I will link her down below. Her name is Lisa. I'm afraid in this moment that if I try to pronounce her last name, I'll mispronounce it. Needless to say, I will just link it. When I went back to Florence many years after I had studied there, I visited with Lisa in her studio, and she had just completed an alphabet of little characters. This is the K from the alphabet, and she gave it to me. She had been giving away the letters one by one, and I think she only had a couple of letters left. She gave me this K. It's made out of these two little guys, two little babes intertwined in dance. One of them has green feet. I live. So this is a framed print of the illustration that appeared alongside an essay of mine that was published in the New York Times Modern Love column several years ago. And I will totally link that essay down below. I do recommend clicking through and reading it if you haven't read it. But it was about the role that Sadie plays in my relationship with Joe. And so the illustrator for Modern Love made this little drawing. That's little Joe, that's little me, and that's little Sadie that I'm holding out, presumably. And I stuck this picture here in the corner. It's a picture of Joe and me at Julia's wedding. I just felt like it was a good spot for that little Polaroid. This is a piece of ceramic work that my parents purchased in the old city of Jerusalem during the time that we were living there. It's a Pisces. It's a little plaque that you hang, like a little tile. Oh yeah, look at that, Jerusalem Old City, 96. I think that everyone in my family has one for his or her own zodiac sign. And this is a little shrinkable, a little piece of art that an artist that I was at an artist colony with made. Sorry about the grammar there, but you get what I'm trying to say. I was at an artist colony a couple of years ago, and we decided to play with shrinkables. It's this thing you do where you make a drawing on a big piece of paper, big piece of clear paper, and then when you bake them in the oven, they shrink up and they become these little tiny clear pieces of hard art. So one of the artists I was there in residence with made this, and I absolutely loved it, and she said that I could have it. This is another one of my paintings, and I actually made it years after art school. I hadn't painted in a really long time. We moved into our house that we were renting in Ann Arbor, Michigan when we moved there so that I could attend graduate school. And there was a big empty space over the couch in that house. And I had a vision. I was like, I know exactly what should go in that space. I envisioned this. I went out and I bought this canvas and I made this painting. It's a painting of Sadie, and I'll try to get her little face on camera later in this video. If you know her, then you know that it looks just like her. It's like my finest work, I feel. This is another one that's kind of hard to capture because it is also in a cheap plastic frame, and the plastic overlay is a little bit warpy, and it reflects a lot of light, but hopefully you can see that it's another Chad Cell print. This one is of the drag queen Pearl. One of my favorite outfits that Pearl wore on her season, and a pretty iconic lip sync, I believe. My favorite thing about this print is that little bit of butt that sticks out on the other side of her arm. So amazing. So I pretty much just have these two pieces from Chad Cell, this one and the Bob the Drag Queen portrait. I wish I had more, but I do feel like I have the best ones he ever made. And this is a gorgeous piece of photography. It's also from an Etsy seller. And we've never framed it. It's just hanging from a hook there, although I've used a tiny bit of tacky stuff to tack down most of the edges to give it a little bit more security. But I kind of like the way that it looks when it's just, you know, loose and exposed there. I'm gonna move this dead plant. So embarrassing. This is where our record player was sitting and the records and everything like that, but it's all in boxes. This is one of my paintings, again, from when I was in art school. It's a self-portrait. But it's of myself at 6 years old. When I was 6 years old, I went with my mom to an event. I think I might have been homesick one day, and she was helping to run an event where there was paint. And she set me up with a strip of canvas and some paints, and then she snapped a picture of me painting a painting. And so I took that picture that my mom had taken of me, and I made this painting of myself at 6 painting a painting. And this is another one where I sort of put like a shape in the background that I conceived of as something at the time. This black shape back here is sort of to me, the artist. I mean, I know maybe not everyone can see this, or maybe no one else would, but it's supposed to be kind of like the jaws of a creature that's coming to grab me. And I kind of conceived of it as like the moment when the duende or the demon of art gripped me and never let me go. So it's sort of like this painting of the moment of being captured by this passion and having my life changed by it. And then right next to it, we have another one of the little oil paintings of vegetables. This one we call Two Beets, and we feel like it's us. It's the little beet Joe and the little beet Hannah, and they're spooning. This is, I don't know if this would, I guess this is considered like art that's in our home, but it's something that I purchased when I was studying abroad for a summer in between my freshman and sophomore years of college. I did a summer school abroad in London. It was a theater program. I attended a bunch of shows on the West End and then studied theater. And I was walking around London one day and I went into a big book fair and I purchased this. It's an old kind of piece of Faber advertising, like Faber propaganda, from back when all of these poets were alive. We have Stephen Spender, Auden, Ted Hughes, Eliot, and Louis MacNeice. I think it's hilarious because it's, you know, these like old white male poets all together having drinks. And I call it All Male Poet Society. It used to be in the background of my videos. Those of you who've been watching for a long time will totally remember it. Another iconic piece up here, this is an art doll made by Cart Before the Horse. A really beautiful, talented artist who makes art dolls. Most of the dolls she makes are much smaller, but I commissioned this piece. I saw a really tiny version of it that she had made, and I wanted a big one. And so I asked her how much it would cost. This is kind of like the first piece of art that I really like purchased, where I just, you know, a lot of the art, as you've seen, I've collected or traded or, you know, gotten at a Goodwill or something. This is a piece that I commissioned from the artist back in the day. I mean, it wasn't massively expensive. She was like selling on Etsy, but I really love it for its own sake, but I also really love it for that reason. And then this right here is also one that was in the background of a video once or twice. It's a little cross stitch that my friend Simbri made for me. This piece is so long and skinny that I don't know if I can get the whole thing in frame. I have yet to hang it up. I guess we'll have to wait until after we move to a place where we can unpack our art. It was a gift from my parents last Christmas. It's actually a clock. And they purchased it, I believe, from a local artist where they live in the mountains of North Carolina. Here above my vanity is a collage. It also has a glass pane over it, so I'm going to film from this angle so I don't get too much of a reflection. This is another piece that I made. My friend Julene, who many of you know, she used to live in Portland as well, and when we both lived in Portland, almost every year on her birthday, she'd have a party where we'd all go over to her house and make collages. And this is one of the ones I made one year at Julene's birthday party. And then way up there, I can't take it down right now, but it's a piece of weaving that was made by my friend Christina, again, when we were both in art school. And she traded it to me for a piece of my art. I think that this is the last piece, and this is another one that I can't take down. It's a very, very big canvas, and this is another painting of mine. And in fact, this painting is a gigantic representation of the painting that I made when I was 6 years old, and I had that little strip of canvas. Remember, I was telling you that my mom gave me a little strip of canvas to paint on, and then she took a picture of me. So I painted a picture of myself painting that strip of canvas, and then I took this giant canvas and I made a much larger version of that same painting. So it was really just an abstract piece with primary colors. I thought that that big painting was the last one, but I had forgotten about the persimmon. This is the third in the trio of little oil paintings of fruits and vegetables that we bought at the Goodwill in Portland. And we feel that it represents Sadie. So the two beets represent Joe and me, and this is little Sadie all by herself. So we always hang it very close to the ground and near where we feed her so that she can look up from her meals when she's eating and behold it. And this is the most beautiful artwork of all. And that is it. That is the artwork tour. I hope that it was fun to watch. If you have any questions or if there's anything that I failed to link, then absolutely let me know down below and I'll do my best to help you out. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it so much. And I hope that you are remembering to take extra good care of yourself right now so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.